Paul Bamberger, interested in worker-owned businesses, African-American worker-owned businesses.
And where are you from?
I live in Somerville,
Somerville.
Mass. Yeah.
I know it well. That's
Yeah.
good. Well, welcome. And
Thank you.
It was a long trip. You had a long commute to get here, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do when you aren't attending things like this? And
I'm working for this organization, the Transformational Prison Project,
ooh, okay.
which is supporting formerly incarcerated people who are transitioning to
Excellent.
out of prison.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I asked that last question, right? That was like the money question, as they say. And you are, please?
Good morning. My name is Teresa Heyman. I'm a union carpenter and real estate agent. Born and raised in Boston, Mass. I'm here to network, learn some information about investing, looking to volunteer. I want to give back to the community, educate the community about building wealth.
Okay.
So thank you for having
And
me.
what part of Boston do you live in?
Hyde Park.
You live in Hyde? Okay.
I'm in Hyde
That's
Park.
well, that's great. It's been a long time since I've been in Boston, so it's great to hear a true Boston accent.
Oh,
So it sounds fantastic. All right. And the purpose of this session is to just give an overview and introduction on what impact investing is. And we're doing it while people are gathering for breakfast, so I assume some people are busy networking and coming in, or they feel like they already know, so they're not here. Originally, this was going to be a 30-minute session, and I was going to have another colleague do this with me, and his flight got delayed, so he's not getting in until 10 a.m. His name is Derek Peebles, so I encourage you to, he's out of Cincinnati. Look on the agenda for when he's speaking and consider, talking with him, and make sure you meet him. So my 10-minute overview turned into a 30-minute session, and so we're going to make this highly interactive, answer some questions. I'm going to give you some basic information in the beginning, and then it's all about interaction. Ask questions and get answers. My name is Dorian Nunez. I'm a native of New York City. As a child, I was a professional saxophone player. In other words, I played sax in middle school and got paid for it. Also an amateur astronomer, so I enjoy astronomy. I went to boarding school up in Concord, New Hampshire, at St. Paul's School, and then I went to college over at Harvard College. So I lived here in Boston. So I've sort of come to my second home, except I don't root for any of the Boston teams, right? So, because I'm a native New Yorker. Yeah, I'm just telling the truth. When I was younger, I couldn't say that out of fear. Now, though, now it's just truth is truth, facts are facts, to do that. So, when I was in college, I took a year off, and I went back home to New York, where I worked as a community organizer. And I specifically organized against redlining. At that time, we were getting the Community Reinvestment Act signed, and if you don't know what that is, you should learn about it. There are people here who do. And then, I went back to Wall Street, and then I came back, got my MBA from Harvard Business School, and I actually worked in this building, so as an intern for an investment firm. So I'm very comfortable in this particular place, in this particular space. Created the Ohio Community Reinvestment Alliance. I'm glad you mentioned that you're with labor unions, because we did some consulting work with the A. Philip Randolph Institute. Are you a member of the A. Philip Randolph Institute?
Yes, I actually received the award for down here at the Back Bay.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
At the statue down there.
Yes.
I was nominated for the award.
It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to meet you. A lot of people don't know who A. Philip Randolph was, and you do, clearly. And Boston is one of at least two places that has a statue. The other is in Union Station down in Washington, D.C. A. Philip Randolph helped organize the March on Washington, but he didn't do it alone. He also did it with Bayard Rustin, who was an openly gay black male who was persecuted while he organized the March on Washington for jobs and freedom and everything else. And one of my mentors, Norm Hill. And they created the A. Philip Randolph Institute, which I think didn't have a Boston chapter until about 10 or 15 years ago. But am I right? Yes. Approximately. But and unions are very important, and we're going to touch on that in a minute. I'm delighted that you're here, honored that you're here, and want to convince Boston Ujima, if this is collective work, then you got to include unions. And if you include unions, then you have to include A. Philip Randolph Institute. And if you don't, then you're missing something. And a car does not run with 3 tires. And that would be the 4th tire that you need in order to make some things work. We're joined by a young lady. Can you tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you hope to get out of this?
Hi everyone, thank you. My name is Melissa Dagger, and I'm from here in Boston, and
Cool.
I'm just here to learn more about collective investing, and I don't really understand, so I'm here to learn.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're not going to have anybody else introduce themselves. We're going to get you some material and make it interactive, but we'll try to do that. Now, I have taught investments and entrepreneurship at a couple of universities. So I'm accustomed to calling on people, especially when they're busy texting and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So stay alive, stay alert. Honored to be here with you. This is particularly great. Any thoughts, questions, or comments so far? Okay. Well, let me race through some specific material, because you came here to learn something. So I feel I have 2 obligations. One is to inform you, and then the other, hopefully, is to inspire you. And if that's what we do, then my mission for this half hour has been accomplished. I'm proud to be at this first inaugural event. I hope this is an annual event. And I guess I'm also proud that I'm the kickoff lead speaker for such a fantastic event with you guys. So we have to remember that as a group, and I hope the photographers get some type of group picture of us together. I'm kind of old school, so I use this flip chart stand. I have an internship. I worked on Wall Street for 50 years. I started when I was in high school, so I've forgotten a whole lot of stuff, but there's a whole lot that I still remember. If you are new to investing, and I have a mentorship and internship program, so I'm giving you the same advice that I give to the college students, the MBA students, and the high school students that are part of the mentorship program. If you're new to investing, you want to go to AAII.com. That's called the American Association of Individual Investors. They have a trial that only costs you $2 for 30 days, and then you can decide if you want to join them or not. You'll get a lot of free information about investing. It won't be about impact investing. It'll be about just basic, traditional investing. AAII.com, American Association of Individual Investors. I believe in this so much that I gave this to my children as Christmas presents. Now, they kind of chuckled when I gave it to them, like, why are you doing this, Dad? But now they appreciate it. The other thing you want to do, and I typed this wrong because I didn't have my coffee yet, Investopedia, P-E-D-I, like Wikipedia, except the word invest. Do you have it? Are y'all on Investopedia? Do you know, have you ever heard of it? No. Mission accomplished. We taught you something. We shared something with you. This is also free, and it's my go-to place whenever I hear anything about investments and I need to brush up on it, I need to know about it, I go to Investopedia. So you just go to Investopedia, again, spelled incorrectly up here, but I do know how to spell it. But this is pre-coffee, that's why it's spelled wrong. And then the third one, this is free as well, and it's up there. It's called GoodsUniteUs.com. GoodsUniteUs.com, that's an E. Imagine that you are an impact investor. You're an impact investor. Every day you buy something, and every time you buy something, that money goes to a company, and that company gets some profits. And what do they do with their profits? They do all kinds of things with their profits. But one of the things that the people at the C-suite level, the executives do, is they give money to PACs, political action committees. And some of them are giving their money to people you don't like. But you're buying from them, giving them your money, and then they're investing it in people that you don't like. If you don't like the Supreme Court decision about abortion, or if you don't like the Supreme Court decision against affirmative action, then why did you give them your money? Because you didn't know. And that's the real reason. You didn't know. You didn't know who was on your side, who wasn't. The MyPillow guy, I've met people who said, if I only knew what a Trumper he was, I wouldn't have bought MyPillow. And certainly, when the transgender spokesperson was for Bud Light, they knew, and a whole bunch of other people worked against them. So can you imagine if there was an app that you could punch in and you could see Who is Dunkin' Donuts giving their money to? Who is Stop and Shop supporting? Who are these companies supporting? Shouldn't there be an app that does that? Yes. Well, there is one. It's called Goods Unite Us. It's a free app to show you where your money goes. Free. And it's based in Madison, Wisconsin. These are clients of mine, so I need to tell full disclosure, and I need to tell you that. But this app is free. And you can punch in, and you'd be surprised what pops out of it. You can punch in any brand you want, and then suddenly it'll tell you how much they invest with Dems, how much they invest with Republicans, and you can make your own choice from there. At least be informed. You may not change your buying behavior. That's your call. But at least now you kind of know what's going on. Or you can pull back. Labor unions have been doing this for a long time. You could tell us more about it probably than what A. Philip Randolph Institute is doing. So that's what it does. Can you put the next one up, Gary, please? Yeah. And so just to make it easy for you, those are QR codes. So you can actually pick your phone up right now. I learned how to do this zap thing. I'm a little slow about it. And so if you have an Apple, that's the iOS. If you have Android, that's the middle. And you could go to the website, Goods Unite Us, to sign up. You'll get newsletters, be part of a blog. 500,000 people have already downloaded this. The only reason why you don't have it is because you didn't know about it. But now you do. And after you start playing around with it, you'd be surprised who's given to whom, who's given to others. And I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow. And talk about what companies we've been buying from that supported the justices to be on the Supreme Court that voted against us. We have a list of the 25 top companies. One of them is Microsoft. What a surprise. So, but that'll be tomorrow in another session that I'm doing. Okay, you can turn this off now. We don't need this at all. So that's kind of a start. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments? All right. Now, I'm supposed to talk to you about what is impact investing. And the real answer, my answer, is what does impact investing mean to me? And that's this. This says that I'm a native of New York City. That's why I put that there. I wrote these up here to remind me of what things I wanted to make sure I said. The textbook definition, and we are not about textbooks. The textbook definition says an impact investment is an investment that you make with an economic return. So it's not charity. It's not, there are other things that do that. So you want an economic return. You care about social issues. And you care about the environment. That's what the definition was. That's not my definition. And my definition is a little different. I believe, like A. Philip Randolph, the 1963 March on Washington was for jobs and freedom. So the social benefit that I want to see, and what I would encourage you to focus on, is what? Jobs. Good paying jobs, good wage jobs. What do people who come out of prison want? They want a job. They want a good paying job, a well paying job. So I'm a senior fellow at a group called the Intentional Endowments Network that focuses on climate change. So I have nothing against environment, ESG, and other things. But when it comes to impact investing, we collectively have to focus and work towards focusing energy and attention on job creation, job development, and getting people employed. Why? Because Martin Luther King said, when a person doesn't have a job, then you're saying that they're not worth anything. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the quote. He also said, new laws are not enough. The emergency we now face is economic. Now, Martin Luther King's been dead for decades, and yet, these issues still exist. These issues are still the same. So, impact investing, I've given you the textbook definition. And so now you can read about it, and we've sent you a 30, 40-page slide presentation, and it talks about UN, United Nations goals and environmental goals. And I'm not against any of those, but in this environment, and if you talk to me, the best impact investment is one that creates a job, a good paying salary job. Let me tell you another reason why. The unemployment rate of African Americans is double that of the rest of the country. And it's been that way for 30 years. And we accept that. Everybody accepts that. The media accepts that. I've seen black reporters accept that. And they say, unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been. Unemployment rate for African Americans is the lowest it's ever been. Our rate, 5%. The rest of the country, 2.5%. And if the rest of the country is 5 and 2.5%, that means there's some places where it's 6 and 7%. And that's a fact. What's the unemployment rate of African Americans in Boston? I'm going to guess that you don't know. You don't know because it's not reported. It's publicly available, but you don't know. So to me, impact investing, and what you should focus on, is how do we get that unemployment rate down? And whenever you talk about high unemployment, the first thing they say is, well, people lack skills. Malarkey. Then they say, well, people have previous prison records and that's hurt them. Okay, malarkey there too. And then they come up with some other excuses, and you just have to fight through all of those. So I hope collectively we can communicate and come up with strategies and ways to say, that's malarkey. You know, malarkey is just a Delaware way of saying something else, right? So, so there's that. Now, I'm focused on Community Reinvestment Act. That was signed in 1977. And then there's a group called the National Community Reinvestment Network, which was started right here in Boston. Since we're in Boston, I'm going to talk about Boston a lot. National Community Investment Network was started in Boston by Reverend Charles Stith, who is a minister at the Union Church in the South End. He's now become an ambassador, and he's over at Boston University, BU. And he created an organization called the Organization for New Equality. And I was a member of it, we would go to banks, we would get them to sign deals to lend money for homeowners and for businesses. That group doesn't exist anymore. There's another group that started in Somerville. John Taylor in Somerville started the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. Think of that as Al Sharpton's National Action Network, but narrowly focused on loans for home ownership and loans for small businesses and against redlining. So these are two Boston-based organizations. Had y'all ever heard of them before? So let's be aware of our own history and what's been accomplished. I have 4 minutes left. Okay, that's cool. And then of course the NAACP. I hope all of you are members of the NAACP. Most people who aren't say nobody asked me. Well, I'm asking. Join. NAACP had a program called the Fair Share Program back 30, 40 years ago. They wanted diversity at the board level, diversity in hiring, diversity among suppliers, diversity among foundation giving. Even the NAACP has forgotten that they did this. I know this because I'm doing an update on it. The Fair Share Program, it's the blueprint. I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow, but since we have this time today, I'll talk about it today. I'm going to race through this. Now, Boston is known as one of the most educated communities in the country, and it is. So we have to get that education focused on our issues. And our issues I'm proposing to you is access to capital, and it's what? How do we reduce the wealth gap? How do we reduce the employment gap? And how do we build our communities and make it better? Anybody disagree with that? Okay, so we got consensus on that. So Harvard did a study of Boston 30 years ago, competitive advantage of the inner city. And they found out there's a lot of money in the inner city. Incomes might be low, but because it's concentrated, a lot of money gets spent. Where do you think Pampers sells more diapers? Out in the suburbs to somebody who's got a mansion, or right in Rochester or Dorchester or in the inner city? Procter & Gamble knows. They know how much money they can make there. Walmart knows. Harvard. Northeastern, there's a guy who got hit with an American flag right here in Government Center in the 70s. His name was Ted Burrell. He now runs the Dukakis Center for Public Policy. That picture, by the way, won a Pulitzer Prize. So let me know when I have 2 minutes left. Okay, and the Bentley College, they have an impact fund at Bentley. At Boston University, I just mentioned Stith. Boston College has a Center for Retirement Research that just looks at retirement plans and retirement pension funds, things of that nature. African Americans are the director of research there. Tufts University just got a grant to support minority businesses from the federal government. And some friends of mine are saying, how did Tufts out in Somerville get that grant? But they got it. Now you got to go get it. Wellesley College and LaSalle College, I put them on this list because I happen to know the president of those two colleges. They're both college classmates of mine. I only have like 1 or 2 more slides. I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow. Show me the money. The Small Business Administration created a program for small businesses back in 1958. After the riots of 1967 and 1968, they created something called MESBICs. You ever heard of Reginald Lewis? Okay, well, Reginald Lewis made his money from Mesbics. That came as a result of the riots. By the way, when all those riots happened, there were no riots in Boston. Do you know why? Because James Brown did a concert here in Boston. And he partnered up with the mayor, and the mayor, Kevin White, wrote a check or got convinced to do it and set it up. And so Boston didn't have a riot. But does anybody thank James Brown for it? Do we even teach our people about this? And y'all are Bostonians. Somebody said they're lifelong. Okay, we're going to race through this. The Federal Reserve Bank, that's where they print money. They have economists who have studied every problem that you're thinking about. They have things like worker programs. They have things about transitional management. If you don't go to the Federal Reserve to get information, then you pay tax dollars for research that's being done that you don't know about. Turns out that the head of the Federal Reserve Bank in Boston is an African-American woman. First one, Susan Collins. She wants to talk to groups like this. She told me that. I wanted to get her to come talk to Harvard. She's another college classmate. She said, no, I want to talk to people who aren't traditionally introduced to the Fed. Back in the 80s, Charles Stith and I and others, we would go to the Fed and we would have meetings between bankers, community people, and others to say, let's solve the problem of access to capital. SSBCI, State Small Business Credit Initiative. The federal government has put $10 billion, I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow, $10 billion, they've given it to all states. Massachusetts got 150 million. California got 400 million. Every state got money. Is that trickling down to you? I don't know. Are you asking about it? I got 2 minutes? I got more time than I thought. Okay, so, and then there's SSBIC, that's Specialized Small Business Investment Company. Those are Mesbics. But here's the biggest one, pension funds. The labor unions all pay into a pension. They have defined benefit plans. And so where's that pension money going? That pension money, remember what I said about impact investments? Market rate of returns, just focus on the things we want to talk about. The state of Massachusetts has a Massachusetts Teachers Fund, $38 billion. The city of Boston, $9 billion. The city of Cambridge, the mayor's here, $1 billion. Massachusetts employees, $35 billion. That's $85 billion worth of money right there on the table. How much of that is going into our communities? How much of that is being partnered with union money for what they call the capital stack in order to have a positive impact? How many jobs do we have to have for African Americans in Boston or for formerly incarcerated people, if that's the right term, in order to get them employed? I don't know. They know, and they can give you the number. And then they could tell you, okay, let's figure out how to solve this problem, how to do it. So let me just say this. Some of you might be thinking that, boy, that guy's talking a long time and about a lot of stuff, and maybe I have. But imagine if there was a police officer with their knee on George Floyd's neck during his presentation. That's how they committed murder. Not through the entire part of what I'm talking about, but at least through the first half of it. So let us not forget what brought us all here together. And now we have time for some questions? Because we started a little late. No, we got to go into the next session? Well, anyway, so I'm here today. I'm doing another session tomorrow on a different subject, but a lot of this stuff will be covered in more detail. Let the organizers and others know if you think this is useful information to you. And thank all of you for coming and being here. And I hope to meet the rest of you who came in after the first group that came in and sat down.